So, guys, what do you want to talk about? We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. I am Jeff Martin alongside the trendsetter Brian Berger. We are the HSP podcast, High Spot podcast on the Give Us a Shot Network. And we are here and we're talking AEW Forbidden Door. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe on all our social media platforms at High Spot Podcast and also here on the Give Us a Shot Network. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you are up to date with all the latest episodes of HSP. Trendsetter, how are you enjoying the summer? Is it being good to you? And as we get ready to preview AEW Forbidden Door, what's going on?
What's going on is summer's going by way too fast, Jeff. But at the same time, we're always busy because there's always something to talk about. So definitely excited about that. Forbidden Door has been something we've been looking forward to, anticipating, ready to talk about it right now. But man, the summer's going by way, way too fast. Don't even want to think about SummerSlam yet. I know that's around the corner, believe it or not. But right now, it's all about Forbidden Door. It's all about AEW right now.
That's right. And I'm glad you said that because I'm going to stop you there. It's not going to be all about AEW because I want to touch on SmackDown from Madison Square Garden just a little bit. But also want to let you know, want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July as it is coming up, 4th of July week. So I want to wish you guys that as well. And also break some news. We will be at Forbidden Door at the UBS Arena in Long Island where the New York Islanders play. We will be there for media coverage. So make sure you stick to Give Us a Shot Network and HSP at High Spot Podcast on all our social media platforms for all the latest from AEW Forbidden Door. We will be doing media there, and we will be at the post-media scrum, which should be fun. We can now call ourselves part of the wrestling media. So can we be those journalists that you can depend on, that you won't be swayed by being bought by anybody? Well, can't guarantee you that, but we'll do our best as we hit our first ever media scrum for AEW. All right, Chancellor, we will get to AEW Forbidden Door, but I want to talk about this SmackDown because we didn't get a chance to talk about the one in Chicago, which was brilliantly done, where you saw Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, and we saw everything unfold with the Bloodline as well, with Jacob Fatu's debut. So we didn't get a chance to touch on that. But this one here, because we're doing this preview and it's so close to SmackDown, I really wanted to talk about this one. And it's really an important one, too, because this one, you saw Paul Heyman go through a table. You saw the official acknowledgement of Solo Sikoa by everyone else, by Jacob, by Tama, by Tongaloa. And now he is the tribal chief, so to say. Paul Heyman did not acknowledge Solo Sikoa. His only tribal chief is Roman Reigns. So much to get into. I did an IG Live on this one, Trent. I think I told you this, but I did an IG Live. A lot of people now assume that Roman Reigns' return can't be too far away. So there's a lot to discuss here in this segment. It opened up with the Bloodline coming out, and then Cody RKO, which was basically Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton came out, and we had this big brawl, and all this stuff happened, and it kind of set up the Money in the Bank, right? We'll talk about Money in the Bank as well, too, this week. Really hot segment to open up SmackDown.
Well, when you look at the storyline of the Bloodline and all the chapters supposedly were going to happen, we thought it was going to end with Roman Reigns after he lost his lengthy title reign to Cody Rhodes, and now it's just a whole new level of scenarios that we felt there was going to be a scenario with Solo, but now you add everyone else into this new Bloodline. The scenario now with having the Paul Heyman. I'll be the first one to admit I thought that when people said there are not that many chapters left to go with the Bloodline, I was wrong. There are a lot more innings, a lot more things to go in terms of this, and to what you alluded to as well. With what happened now with Paul Heyman, the question now remains, does this mean that Roman Reigns is going to come back sooner? I think right now it's all leaning towards SummerSlam. I don't know yet. I feel right now what you'd probably want to do, and again, this is far down the line as we talk about it as SummerSlam approaches. I think really it's going to be set up for Cody and Solo. I don't think Roman still comes back yet. Could it happen? Yeah, but I think right now they just kind of want to establish this version of the Bloodline, give it time to breathe, I feel. Because right now you've destroyed the last link to the old Bloodline, which was Paul Heyman, the wise man.
But your thoughts, Trent, on the opening of the show, because you said a great point. You go watch. You said I go to pay to see Cody Rhodes in a championship match, and then you only see him in an opening segment. It was a very impactful opening segment, but you kind of were saying like, well, you don't see him in a championship match. Kind of caught Randy's eye when he said that, right? Which kind of starts a little short build there. But just your thoughts on the opening segment. We'll get to the whole thing would happen with Paul Heyman after this. But just your thoughts on the opening segment here.
I was excited. It was fun to watch, but then to see Cody leave and see Kevin Owens and Randy Orton be escorted out of the building, I'm like, hey, I want to see Cody Rhodes. I want to see what's going on with this. It doesn't happen very often when they go to Madison Square Garden. So that was something that was a little annoying to me, thinking he would come back later in the show to interrupt the whole ceremony. But great way to start. Listen, the crowd was into it. Again, in this new era with this new regime, this new man behind the production in terms of what Triple H Paul Levesque's doing, it just has a different vibe to it, and you could feel that in the build up when they put on social media, the empty arena. Clearly, the arena was a little bit smaller in terms of the entrance because they wanted more seats. That's good news. Hey, they want to sacrifice sets and all this pyrotechnics to have more fans in there. That's what you saw. I haven't seen Madison Square Garden that hyped up for a SmackDown in a really long time. The energy was there. Great way to start with that huge brawl that went everywhere around the arena. Kevin Owens lost a shoe, for God's sakes. I felt bad for the shoe, doing a crazy swanton there. Great way to pick up the energy of the crowd. Just was a little disappointed, more than a little disappointed, that Cody was off the show to the very end. That was it. That's all we had of our WWE champion. You wouldn't do that with Roman Reigns, so you did that with Cody. Okay, I guess.
Well, I guess the theory and the logic is that, hey, listen, if the Bloodline are going to have this ceremony, what's going to keep Cody, Randy, and KO from coming back out and interrupting that? So I believe there was that kind of theory, that psychology, that why that happened. They got to
You're going to keep the WWE champion off just for one segment? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, well, I guess you got to see him afterwards, right? And he gave a speech too, but I guess that's just for the Madison Square Garden crowd and stuff. So yeah. So, getting to that though, we saw we saw Stephanie McMahon was actually in attendance too, which was pretty crazy too. Slowly building that trust, slowly getting back into the not even good graces, just slowly getting back into that fold. She had so much time off, and I think she's slowly integrating herself back into WWE, and we hope we see her back soon. And then Tiffany Stratton advanced to the Money in the Bank. LA Knight advanced. Naomi advanced. So we got that. And then we had a nice little face-to-face with NBA players with the crossover, obviously, with Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton from the Indiana Pacers. So that was cool. So you got a so you got a nice little smorgasbord of stuff going on with SmackDown, and then you got your main event, Paul Heyman. That's one of the main places. Paul Heyman, MSG, main evented that.
So I felt bad for Paul. He didn't look like he got any sleep at all.
Yeah, no, and it's part of the whole how invested he is to this character, to just everything. Whenever there's stress, whenever there's no Roman Reigns, the man stresses. He doesn't sleep. His eyes. I mean, he doesn't dye his hair. I mean, the man's a mess without Roman Reigns. And obviously, we got to the boiling point now where Solo Sikoa was going to acknowledge the wise man, no Jacob Fatu from the start, and kind of led Paul to believe that he wasn't going to be part of the bloodline. He was finally going to take his advice. And basically, it was an ultimatum for Paul at the end when Jacob Fatu comes out. And the dude looks like a star. The dude looks like a star with his entrance because Solo brings him out, cuts off Paul Heyman, and then we get the test. Paul, do you acknowledge Solo Sikoa as your tribal chief? Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Jacob Fatu acknowledged him, but Paul Heyman couldn't. And when you bring out the Ulafala, oh my goodness, that was it. That was just that's what tipped over Paul Heyman, and there's no way he could have acknowledged Solo Sikoa. And then from what I saw, I could not believe a 58-year-old man in the shape of Paul Heyman going through a table. The dedication on this man to be approached and say, hey, listen, can we do this table spot? Are you willing to do it for this storyline? And at the end of the day, this storyline will be probably the greatest storyline ever in pro wrestling. And just everybody's commitment to this has been amazing. And you can tell Solo now he feels more comfortable in this spot as his tribal chief. And I mean, what could you complain about this? This was, I don't want to seem like every fan out there, but this was one word: cinema.
That's one word of explaining it. I think when you look at Clearly, let's look at Solo, for example, right? When he first started, John Cena buried him in terms of the promo. He said, didn't seem like he was fully comfortable. Not that he didn't have the ability to, which is what he's showing now, but you could definitely tell he wasn't comfortable. He started slowly getting into his zone, started developing this form of Solo Sokoa, which we hadn't seen because from the very beginning, Solo was just the enforcer of Roman Reigns, right? Didn't say a word, just stood there stone faced the entire time. If he did say something, it was very small, minuscule, but it was important still. So now he has the mic in his hand. He has the ability of showcasing his personality. And I think it goes back to what you and I talked about before. Usually, sometimes the best characters, the best personas are always the versions of themselves. And you can definitely feel that Solo is comfortable with this now. He is comfortable in his own skin now. He is now projecting the sense of kind of finding out who his identity or what his identity is right now, because again, it's always an evolving thing for him until Roman returns, and then we'll see how that interaction happens down the road. This new bloodline is just, there are no rules with the new bloodline. And when you go back to, you talked about Paul Heyman, to the dedication, it wouldn't surprise me if this was Paul Heyman's suggestion. Power bomb me through the table, because again, it's that scenario that it has to be something dramatic to kind of do away with what we once knew what the bloodline was, to this new version of it, which we still have yet to know more about. How vicious, how dominant can they be to the old bloodline? So definitely exciting. Of course, there are things you can complain about because the fans are chanting, "We want Roman." But guys, if you know anything now with this new regime, you got to be patient. It's not going to be a quick, we're going to give them what they want right away. It's not an instant gratification thing. You have to wait, because the longer you wait, the more exciting it's going to be when you finally hear that tribal chief song and Roman Reigns does return. So that will be the most anticipated return, I feel, in recent memory that I could ever remember and recall, basically, of someone coming back to the WWE. Roman's earned his time off. I'm sure, I mean, also too, he's dealing with some grief right now in terms of the loss in his family, which I'm sure we'll talk about too. But yeah, exciting to see where this goes. And for the longest time, we always felt personally, Jeff, that after WrestleMania, it dies down. It has not stopped since then. We thought Backlash was that. It has not. It's continued on this nice little roller coaster leading to, as you know, again, free plug here for WWE, the biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam. So excited about it.
Definitely is going to get the biggest pop. When Roman Reigns comes back, it's going to be huge. I think part of the reason why the fans popped so much for Paul Heyman, yes, because he finally said no he stood up to Solo Sikoa, but also the fact is that he finally did not acknowledge him as a tribal chief, which you kind of in your mind thinking, okay, this is going to set off Solo. He's probably going to get his butt whooped. And that's what happened. And what happens when you touch Roman's wise man, it's going to cause a chain reaction. And sooner or later, you're going to hear from Roman Reigns. You just have to, because this accelerates Roman Reigns returning, because you need to have retribution for the wise man being destroyed at the hands of this Bloodline 2.0. So we saw that, and we saw Jacob Fatu fighting for his life, trying to get Paul Heyman up there, with Paul Heyman all in his glory in his face. And then Paul Heyman's face is priceless. I mean, the memes are unbelievable now of Paul Heyman up there being perched up on top, struggling to get him. Waited about 2 or 3 seconds before they finally were set him down, and they set him down, and then he still slides on his back down, and then he does the ultimate professional. He turns down, plants his face to make that look just even better. You know what Paul's doing. And you get that vision of the bloodline standing up there, throwing up the ones. My God, what a freaking night it was if you were an MSG for Friday Night SmackDown. And you know what? You want to see more. You want to see more, and you want to see what happens on Monday night, and you want to see what happens on Friday Night SmackDown. One thing, though, Trendsetter, before we close, I got to get to this, and it really pissed me the hell off. It's been pissing me off for about a good month and a half since this whole Rock came back, is Fox's way they censor, or the way they decide to censor WWE. And I get sometimes I don't like when they mute stuff, but this blacking out garbage has got to stop. And WWE was fed up with it, where they were a little bit peeved because it was too much of it. Now, listen, sometimes relationships, when it's coming to an end, probably you're going to get a little bit more nitpicking, and you're going to be a little bit more fickle on stuff. And no doubt that this partnership is ending soon. Forget about the ratings that this product has given Fox. right? I still don't know their psychology of why they didn't want to re-up SmackDown, but this is going to end bad, and it's going to end bad because I don't see Fox budging from censoring WWE like this because, hey, the fans are going to do what the fans are going to do. I think the one kid was sticking up his middle finger in the Nia Jax segment. So you had that, then something with the bloodline, the cursing. There's got to be a better way now till September that Fox can censor WWE when stuff like that happens because you are getting a lot of fans angry. But at the end of the day, I don't think Fox cares.
Could there be a better way? Yeah. Is Fox going to do it? Absolutely not. Why? Why should they? At this point right now, I think early on when this whole partnership occurred, when it was under the old regime, there was a set of expectations. And you and I talked about it too. Besides the first show that was ever aired on Fox, it had not lived up to that expectation. Now that things have changed and there are new people behind the helm of running WWE, you would think, why would you want to let this go now? Now this is drawing what you wanted. This was basically what you wanted the entire time when you created this partnership. But same time, too little, too late. And right now, I think you say it's going to end bad. It's already bad. It's just going to get worse from here on out. I think if WWE is going to do anything, they're going to now poke fun of it in terms of ending it in that way because, similar to, they've had similar issues with TNN. They've had similar issues with USA Network at times as well, and that's why they're leaving and going to Netflix, and SmackDown's moving over to USA Network. But I don't think it'll be that bad per se. But yeah, again, this is just the end of a relationship. It's getting ugly, but you're just going to try to ride it out to the very end. That's all you're going to do right now. And I'm sure WWE will do their best to stick it to Fox, and Fox will do their best at the end of it. Because again, no one side's going to take the right approach. It's going to take the high road. It's going to be this way, I think, to the very end. So I'm not surprised by it. Am I annoyed by it? Yeah. I mean, I know you're pissed off about it as well, but I'm like, I look at it and I shake my head. I'm like, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is, listen, I'm not a businessman per se, but this is the way it is sometimes when things aren't mutually done and there's never a parting of a fair way in terms of both sides being happy. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get those little jabs, and this is what's going on right now.
All right, guys. So that was SmackDown. We gave you the lowdown, hence SmackDown lowdown. But a really good SmackDown. Very excited for Money in the Bank coming up next week. But this week, you got AEW Forbidden Door, and we got your preview here on the Give Us a Shot Network Trendsetter. Now, of course, this is the New Japan and AEW Forbidden Door, which all these matches that you never thought could see happen, you're getting them for a third consecutive year now. So the Forbidden Door is open on Sunday. You'll get some CMLL stuff as well. Just your level of interest for this year's Forbidden Door Trendsetter. Obviously, there's nothing like the first one because you saw some of these tremendous matchups. And now maybe some peculiar matchups here that we'll talk about and discuss. One probably leading with the main guy, the guy that's coming back, and that's Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF. But we'll get to that in a bit. But just your excitement. I know we're going to be there. I know we're finally going to do some media. But your levels of excitement for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Yes, finally do some media, right? That's the collective feeling right now I have. Excitement to be there, to experience it up close and personal. But in terms of the excitement of this card or the event, again, I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer here. I feel that what they've done in the attempts of the first one they did to what they're doing now, you can clearly see that they're building it. They're trying to get it bigger each single time, similar to what they're doing now with All In, right? Wembley Stadium, you're trying to build it to a bigger card, a bigger event. That's what they're doing here. The thing is, though, if I have to be a nitpicker, is that these are moments in terms of this event, Forbidden Door, that you see every once in a while, right? But in reality, we're seeing it every week on Dynamite, where it seems that people from New Japan or Ring of Honor are working their way into the AEW storylines and vice versa. So in a way, it kind of loses its luster a little bit. It loses that little thing that makes it exciting. Yeah, if there's Christmas every single year or every single day, there is Christmas every year. But if there's Christmas every day, you might get tired of it. It's not as special. But again, it is special when you look at this card, and we'll talk about the card as best we can. We don't have 4 hours to talk about it though, because there are a lot of matches on it. But still, there is excitement for it. Anticipating some matches coming about, but I feel it's lost a little bit of its luster just because we do see this infiltrate of AEW stars and New Japan Pro Wrestling stars and Ring of Honor stars, and they're always there. It's kind of similar to when you and I talked about before when we said, when WWE tries to separate the rosters from Raw and SmackDown, but then every week you're seeing Raw superstars on SmackDown and vice versa. There is no brand split. Kind of feels that way with this. So looking forward to being there, looking forward to you and I being a part of this, and again, doing our best to promote and to make the excitement out there for AEW. But right now, I feel in terms of the excitement, I feel it's lost a little bit here. But again, in Long Island, MJF's hometown, there's gonna be excitement there to see him as well. So looking forward to that part.
All right, we will be there again. HSP will be at Forbidden Door. We will be at the post media scrim as well. So all the coverage, just check up here on Give Us a Shot Network for it, and also all our social media has about podcast, and also check out this preview coming to you live on the Give Us a Shot Network, and it'll come out very, very soon. So Trendsetter, 0 hour. So there was about like 13 to 12 matches that we were talking about, but they've been broken down into the 0 hour. So it looks like we're going to get 9 in the show, which is better than 12 or 13 some other nights. So that could be in our favor, Trendsetter, if we want to make it there before dawn back home. So, Trendsetter, the Owen Hart quarterfinals for the women's is going to be at 0 hour. It's going to be Mariah May against Soraya. So, listen, I got to say this. What I have an issue with is Soraya has been kind of like lost in the shuffle for a little bit. And then once we get to this Owen Hart Cup, all of a sudden she's coming back. And now all of a sudden now she's thrust back into the forefront because the winner here gets a shot at All In Wembley, right? In her home area. So obviously that's why the push to get her here. Mariah May has been awesome in the Tony Storm love triangle that's going to be on the main show. But here, just breaking this down, I think that the goal is for Soraya to be somewhere near the main event at Wembley for All In. So I'm going to say that she's going to come here and defeat Mariah May. Even though I love Mariah May, I'm pushing for her. I think it's going to be Soraya advancing to the next round.
I would agree there. I think as much as I want Mariah May to win that one and advance into this, all signs are pointing towards Soraya and Wembley Stadium. So I think the same way too. I see her advancing in this one.
Willow Nightingale and Tam Tam Nakamo versus Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe. That I got right. That one I got right.
Hey, man, better for you. I would butcher the names myself. So
listen, you know,
mad respect for you on doing this.
I'm trying. I'm a trying. Trendsetter in this matchup. Obviously, we know the issues between Willow and Chris Statlander, and now we're getting a tag team match here. It's just a question of who gets the one-upmanship here on this 0 hour show. So I'm going to say right now that Willow gets the win with her tag team partner, and I think that they defeat Chris Statlander.
I'm the opposite. I think Chris Statlander will come get the victory, a sneaky win there, and it's going to build the anticipation when these two finally meet one-on-one. And, again, the whole betrayal scenario and just the fact that it seems like they're really trying to build this up more. And this is something where, like I said before to you, I feel AEW lacks a little bit more in terms of trying to develop anticipation. They immediately want to give you instant gratification, which I understand. I mean, you want to please the fans, right? But I think if people are looking forward to Willow and Chris Statlander and you want to build it up to something, you're going to keep that going on where Chris gets the advantage and she comes out victorious for her team.
So you going Chris, I'm going Willow. I still think that she gets a little bit of revenge from little betrayal the last pay-per-view. So I think that's why she's going to come out victorious. All right, Trendsetter, Mystico and the Lucha Bros against Yoda Suji Titan, which I know because Titan took on, remember Cody Rhodes at Ring of Honor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I remember you always call him Titan, not Titan. It's Titan in Mexico.
I would have called him Titan.
Yeah, I would have, just because obviously it says Titan. And then Hiromi Takahashi, of course. Listen, the Lucha Bros and Mystico. I know Chris Jericho attacked him at CMLL the night before, so obviously we'll see what his condition is. But why not go with the Lucha Bros here with Mystico defeating, getting the win?
Exactly. No, great save there, by the way. I would have said the same thing too. I mean, you're like, this isn't something more in per se that this is going to be something you and I are going to analyze storyline wise. It's just a group of teams that they all are going to do well together. They're going to work well together. You're gonna get a lot of spots where you're gonna be like, "Oh my goodness, wow, look at this!" Right? But in terms of this, I'm heading more towards the Lucha Bros favor too. So
Did
I
I
have them winning.
the night before? No, obviously did not.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go with my eyes and the eye test and the Lucha Bros Mystico. How can you go wrong, right?
Yeah, here's where you skip the analytics and you just go with that. Exactly.
Go with the gut. You go with the eye test. What the eyes tell you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go with, and that's your 0 hour
And
trendsetter.
our eyes are gonna be red at the end of this night too. We're gonna be like
Oh,
Paul Heyman, basically.
I'm going to get my rest. I will be ready, willing and able to watch these matches coming up at Forbidden Door. So we get to the main card, and let's start off, man. The homeboy MJF against Hechicero from CMLL. And I'd be lying to you. The first reaction when I saw that this was going to be the match, I had to do a double take. And I'm like, he's going to take on the CMLL guy. And I'm like, you have a huge roster and this is where we're gonna get nothing away from Hechicero. Nothing. I've never seen him at all, right? So I'm not taking anything away from him. But come on, MJF and him. I mean, you can't even get a word of words. You can't even get a promo. MJF looked impressive against Roosh, but I mean, how do you doubt the hometown boy getting the victory here at Forbidden Door? He's gonna. This to me is a sure bet. 100% can't lose. I'm gonna go with MJF.
Me too. I mean, in the scenario, if you're gonna start off the show, the crowd being hot for MJF since he's the hometown boy. If he's not going to be first, if he's not going to be last, he might as well be first, right? And so this is what you're going to do. And he's going to get a huge standing ovation. The crowd's going to be excited to see him wrestling in his hometown. How could you bet against it in this scenario, too? And again, you don't want to make it look like a squash match, but that's the feeling it's kind of going to be a little bit to a certain degree. I mean,
you would open up with this?
I think they're going to open up with it. I really do.
Okay.
Because if you put that semi-main event or close in the middle, I mean, you and I have had discussions about this before too, right? I mean, granted, this isn't a championship match, Jeff, but if MJF is your hot commodity, granted, it's not what's selling the card, which is the main event. But if the crowd's going to be excited, it's going to be enthusiastic in the very beginning. Why not bring the hometown boy out? I mean, would you do it, or am I completely wrong on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would do it actually. I would open up with MJF, get the crowd hot, get him ready.
Yeah.
Start off with the theme song of MJF to get the crowd going and ready for this because you have honestly they're looking forward to Osprey and Swerve, so I wouldn't really put it up higher than it is. Open up with a start with hometown boy of MJF, and I think that's a good call actually too. I think so. They will open up, I believe, with MJF and Hechicero. So we both got MJF, right, Trendsetter? I mean, it's really no shocker here. We wouldn't tell you to put your money on Hechicero because we think MJF is just gonna come out victorious. All right. Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre.
Orange Cassidy, that's it. No need to further discuss this, Jeff, because no offense to Zack Sabre Jr., but every single time he's been in a card, he has lost. He has never won any of these matches that I could recall in recent. What?
You sure? I just want to make sure.
It doesn't feel like. No, I know he has, but in terms of matches like this, I think right now there's more stock in Orange Cassidy in terms of what AEW wants to do with him. I suppose. I mean, listen, no offense to Orange Cassidy, and I'm not trying to offend Zack Sabre Jr. here, but the reason why this is happening doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, which a lot of things don't, obviously. But here it's like it's all leaning towards Orange Cassidy winning this one. Of course, Zack Sabre Jr. is going to do his favorite thing, put his hands behind his back, do the kicking, do all submission holds, and this ring psychology he does in the ring, which is similar to like a Bryan Danielson, right? Yes, I finally said Bryan Danielson. I didn't say Daniel Bryan, the hypocrite. But I just think it's all Orange Cassidy all the way. I rarely think Zack Sabre Jr. Well, let me ask you a question. In these kinds of matches, is Zack Sabre Jr. the first instinct you have that's going to win these matches?
No.
So,
Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy. Yeah, I'm going to go Orange Cassidy as well. The Owen Hart quarterfinal, your favorite, Bryan Danielson against Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi, former IWGP champion. Obviously, there was a lot of respect between these two, but not anymore. And Bryan Danielson here, listen, you kind of want Bryan Danielson to advance because
I know.
Because you're leading into hopefully the chance that he goes to All In. So why would I think that Shingo Takagi, a former IWGP champion, can come out victorious? I think it's gonna be a good match. I really do. I think it's gonna be hard hitting. You're definitely gonna chop each other. You're gonna definitely get to see that New Japan style in this matchup, which Bryan Danielson loves. So why would I not bet against Bryan Danielson? So I'm gonna go Bryan Danielson coming out victorious in this match.
Yeah, smart money goes on that hypocrite Bryan Danielson. Shingo, I hope they throw us a curveball and actually have him lose it. Because if you're going to build up this story of, again, the underdog and trying to build up Bryan Danielson, which he doesn't deserve it, by the way, why wouldn't you want to keep making him lose and lose and lose? So you're like, you know what? He just can't get over this hump. Because he in his preview, in his promo to this, he talks about respect. I mean, what does the guy know about respect anyway? Either, not Shingo. I'm talking about Bryan Danielson. And you're like, man, he's just going down and down this hole where it's like he's just losing a little bit of confidence in himself. And then I saw the preview try to cry. I mean, give me a break here in terms of him trying to tear up and stuff like that. Like, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of losing in front of my fans and my friends. Give me a break, Bryan Danielson. But again, I get what he's trying to say here. And I hope Shingo wins. But I agree with you. I think right now what AEW and Tony Khan, who absolutely loves Bryan Danielson, would not want to do this, because if you're going to build it the scenario where, I mean, I think when he first came into the promotion of AEW, we thought instant shot at the title, he's gonna be champion. They have actually pulled that back. He's had opportunities, that match he had with MJF, but then from there, it's been kind of put to the side a little, not in terms of irrelevant in terms of storyline, but away from the title picture. This is kind of a way to build it back up again, which is something AEW needs to do more of. I hope they would do it to somebody who deserves it more than Bryan Danielson, but this is the route they're going. And so, yeah, I see Bryan Danielson winning this. Does he deserve it? No, but it's going to happen.
Boy, I would, man. We gotta have a whole podcast dedication on the vitriol that you have for Bryan Danielson, trendsetter. All right, trios matchup:
Stop me when I'm telling lies, Jeff. Stop me.
the Elite, the Young Bucks, and oh man, Okada. I love Okada, man, against the Acclaimed and Hiroshi Tanahashi, the current president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Uh, listen, we really,
I'm excited to see Tanahashi. I really am.
yeah. I mean, I think the only time we've seen him was for New Japan Supercard. I think we were in New
Yep,
Orleans. Is that the only time we saw Tanahashi?
I believe so.
Yeah. No, he wasn't at All In, right? No, he wasn't All In. No, we saw him at Supercard of Honor in New Orleans.
A
So
long time ago. Yeah,
a long time ago, man. Like 5 years, 6 years.
it's crazy.
Wow, time flies. And so, listen, the acclaimed, they've upset the establishment. They've upset the EVPs here, and man, I could really divert to other stuff that's really bothering me about the Young Bucks and Okada. But in analyzing just this match, I would say that Okada and the EVPs come out victorious just because of the fact that the Acclaim got the victory over the Young Bucks. So that's not going to sit well with the Bucks and Okada, and I think that they're going to continue to uh, not their ascent, but just continue to terrorize AEW with their EVP-ish ways. So I think that this was a good way for them, Acclaim, to get the victory on Dynamite, and then now for the EVPs to get the victory here. So I'm going to roll with the Elite beating the Acclaimed in Hiroshi Tanahashi. And obviously, I can tell you right now who's going to get the pin. Tanahashi's going to get pinned just because he's that good of a guy. And he's going back to New Japan, and New Japan doesn't mind getting kicked in the butt anyway. So they'll take it. They'll have their tail between their legs and go back, and they'll be, oh, hum. AEW gets the victory here.
Yeah, I hate to say this. I'm not trying to show disrespect to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I have tremendous respect for that promotion. But in terms of this whole scenario, since it first started to where we are now, it doesn't really seem like if we had the numbers, which we don't right now, and I'd be curious enough to do it myself, believe it or not.
Who's producing this? Can we
The wins and losses on this doesn't really favor New Japan Pro Wrestling, so they're used to that. So
imagine?
Tanahashi will get the pin. I call them the Bucks or the VVPs and Okada. I don't call them the Elite anymore. The Elite is dead, in my opinion. It's no longer exists for that reason. So yeah, I see that happening right now. And the Acclaimed, listen, man, with the Acclaimed, there are a lot of things I could say about them right now, and I'll save that for another time. But I really feel they're a team that had so much momentum going, and somewhere down the road they lost it, and I don't know why it's happening. There's some things I can kind of tell why it's going on, but you said they got the win over the Young Bucks, so it's only fair that the evil EVPs are going to come victorious in this one. So I got them.
The one I'm looking forward to is for the AEW
Women's title.
title. Tony Storm with Mariah May. Oh, Mariah May. Against Mina Shirakawa. I love me some Mina. I really do. I mean, Wow.
First time we saw her was in the Ring of Honor during WrestleMania weekend. We saw her. That was the first time I ever saw her perform.
Yeah, boy. She comes out to that music, which I keep thinking is Don Omar song, but it's not. And listen, I love the presentation. Boy, do I love me the presentation. And Mariah May's got a tough choice because will she go with whoever is victorious? I mean, it's a smart choice. Sounds very smart, actually. Where did I hear that before? But Tony Storm, I think, is going to win. Would it be cool if Mina became new champ? Why not? Right? Why not put it on her? What do you got to lose? It could.
Honestly, with this women's division, you really don't have anything to lose. I'm being honest here. And
Oh,
again, this
stop
isn't a
it.
slight on Tony Storm
Khan said it's
at
the
all.
Tony Khan said it's the best women's division uh, right now, currently, the AEW. So this could only make it better.
Wait, who said that?
Tony Khan and the media call said this is the AEW is the best women's division going right now. It's the best.
Hey, and that's his opinion. He's entitled to it. I don't agree for various reasons, which I'm not going to dive into now because, again, we only have a certain amount of time to talk about it. But I feel like, again, it's not a slight on Tony Storm. I think Tony's done an amazing job with her character and what she's done, her commitment to it. And it's gotten over with the crowd. The audience loves it. I just feel right now, if you're going to switch things up and kind of shake things up and rock the boat a little bit, what perfect time now in terms of this whole triangle and this storyline. Now, I don't know whether you do this because you're leaning towards turning Tony Storm heel. Or, I'm sorry, timeless Tony Storm heel. Sorry, babyface. Because I think she's doing a great job as a heel right now. But I think if you're gonna make it exciting and interesting, you have Maria May turn on Tony Storm and
Oh,
go the other route. I think that would be exciting. So if I had to pick one right now, my gut's telling me it's going to be timeless Tony Storm. She's going to retain it because I think that's just the way they work sometimes. But I want it to go the other way around.
I'm gonna have some fun with it because I've got nothing to lose with this. I've got nothing on this, whatever. So I'm gonna go Mina wins it. And I'm
Okay.
gonna say that Mariah continues to just kind of play both sides, but now stick more with Mina, and it continues this little love triangle. And why not continue it? It doesn't have to end here at Forbidden Door. This continue on for another one, maybe. Maybe settle it at Beach Blast, or maybe settle it at All In. You never know. But this to me is a very good storyline. I would continue it. WWE has continued storylines where you go to a second or third match. So I would not mind to see where this progresses because this is actually telling the story. We actually have character development. We see storylines here. This is why I'm invested in this one. And this is why we'll love to see it continue more than on one occasion.
And there's a history there too. So they're bringing that into the story.
They're playing the history with Mariah May and Mina. So obviously, I like that. Did I know that beforehand? No. Would I wish they informed me a little bit more? They are doing it in the video packages. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm thankful for. And that's why I'm interested in this matchup. And of course, Mina is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm telling you what, man, Mina, I would put that title on her, man. I would really do that. Shake things up a little bit. And again, you don't have to keep it for long term. Next time they face, maybe Tony Storm, but shake it up here for Forbidden Door. And I tell you what, the crowd would love it, and you would get social media clicks by Mina walking away as the women's champion. So try it. All
Try
right,
it. Might like it.
try it. You might like it, right? 31 flavors, right, Trendsetter? Always go back to that one. 31 flavors. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship is on the line. John Moxley, who I call him, who's now basically like, I don't know how. I saw his last match for GCW. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know how John Moxley even wakes up sometimes, dude, because the punishment that he takes. And now he's putting up the IWGP Championship against Tetsuya Naito. Does New Japan here agree that Naito comes all the way from Japan not to take the title back? Are they grooming a younger champion for Moxley to lose to here and go back to Japan and lose that title? It's a tough scenario here. It would do good for the title if maybe Moxley were to defeat Naito and then Moxley goes to Japan and then loses to the up and comer, whoever this guy is that's going to take. I don't know if they have a guy that's going to take New Japan to the next 10 years like they had with Okada, right? You have to find the other guy. Have they found that guy that will take on Moxley in New Japan and beat him in Japan for that title to make it more meaningful? I'm going to say they do have a guy. I'm not sure. Like I said, this is to me right here. I'm just going with what I see here with the eye test. And I'm going Moxley is going to keep that title and defeat Naito at Forbidden Door. Do you think there is somebody in the wings waiting to be the next Okada in New Japan for them to have Moxley beat Naito and then go overseas and lose that title to the young up and comer? I don't know, Trendsetter. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know if there's somebody new, this young up and comer that's going to be groomed to become the new IWGP heavyweight champion and carry the company in Japan Pro Wrestling for, like I said, the next 10 years, like what Okada did, right? All I know though is that the answer isn't Nato. And there's somebody I enjoy more getting himself beat up is Nato because I just enjoy it. He does that very well. But again, we know it's not Okada. That time has come and passed with him. It's not Nato. It sure as heck is not going to be the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling because he's had his time as well. So it's interesting that New Japan Pro Wrestling finds themselves in an interesting scenario and a situation where they're gonna eventually have to make a decision. You're not gonna blame them if they go back into the past and put the title on somebody who's already been champion before to kind of just help carry it until they do find that person. But right now, I can't believe I'm saying this. I have no problem in saying you keep the title on Moxley right now because he is allowing other people outside the US to draw eyes towards New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that can give it the ability that when the time does come where he has to drop the title and give it to somebody else, like say, like you said before, a new young up and comer, somebody we didn't necessarily see or think was world champion material, then it'll be more prestigious, it'll be more significant because if you put it back on NATO, for example, it's like okay, it's like that's the safe thing, but it's not the long term answer here. So I feel John Moxley should become victorious.
Right? But does it like again? Naito, you said, is a safe thing, and we see what Naito winning does. I mean, he's better chasing, he's better getting in those G1 tournaments and fighting and getting it to when he gets it. You're like, okay, it's
Yeah,
he's just sometimes guys are just better with the chase. Sometimes
I
just
agree, and that's what NATO is. He's better chasing than he is actually becoming the champion.
yeah, because then you're like, then what? Now what? Right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got Moxley in that one as well. And now we get to the TBS Women's Championship held by Mercedes Mone, and she will take on Stephanie Vaquer, who is the New Japan Women's Strong Champion. And this is title for title. So the TBS title and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship will be on the line. Stephanie Vaquer, great resume. Obviously, she's built herself up to also be in this position. Obviously, that these women have fought before. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they fought before, so don't quote me on that one. But I know there is a. I know that Mercedes went to see her a match of hers opposing personal in Mexico, and now we're gonna get this match between them at Forbidden Door. So, title for title. This is a title that Mercedes knows that New Japan Championship, Women's Strong Championship. As much as I love Stephanie Vaquer, and I think she's very talented here, Mercedes Moné is where you put all your chips on. She's the one. She's gonna go walk away with both titles.
Hate to admit it, but that's the truth right now. I mean, in terms of if you're trying to elevate titles and trying to elevate, championships to someone who has a bigger name or bigger all around following, it's going to be Mercedes Moné. I mean, let's be honest, guys. You're not going to pay the amount of money you're paying Mercedes Moné to drop the title to somebody in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm sorry. It's not an insult to New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's not an insult to Stephanie either. It's just the plain facts of what it is right now with someone like Mercedes Moné, she's going to show this type of dominance in terms of being. I've heard her in interviews too, and sounds some type of illusional, in my opinion, sometimes where she feels she's the standard bearer. Up for debate there, but she feels like she is. And so, for that being said, of course she's going to walk away and she's going to be victorious in this one. I have her winning this one too, and she's just going to showcase herself because she loves Japan as well to show her dominance not only in AEW but in New Japan Pro Wrestling as well and all over the world to make it known that she's the best female wrestler in the world. Granted, I said wrestler because that's what AEW promotes. They promote the best wrestlers wrestling AEW and New Japan, and that's where they're going with Mercedes, I feel.
We've got the TNT Championship ladder match that's going to happen, and it's going to be for the vacated TNT Championship. Jack Perry, Mark Briscoe, Leo Rush got in there. Dante Martin, Konechki. Why Jim Cornette? You've effed me over here. Takeshita. That's what it is. That is. Jim Cornette. Every time I hear his name. Taketsuka, Taket, whatever. Uh, and a wild card. I don't know what the status is of Ricochet. I don't know. I'm trying to get this trendsetter. Uh, maybe Ricochet is a wild card,
Maybe.
but who walks away the TNT champion? It's got to be Jack Perry, right? I mean, this is their golden boy. This is the guy that Tony Khan goes gaga over.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be the ideal situation to have Jack Perry walk out as TNT champion. Again, this is a no-brainer. Jack Perry, unless the wild card is Ricochet, right, or somebody else, I think it's hands down going to be Jack Perry.
Well, that's the thing. Even if it is Ricochet, which would be a nice surprise, I'm sure the audience will go crazy for it. I know I will, because it leaves the potential of a Ricochet Will Ospreay potential feud down the road, which I'm sure a lot of people would be excited for. Again, that's obviously not what we're talking about because he's got a scenario with Swerve Strickland, but also Swerve Strickland has a history with Ricochet as well. So that's interesting TV, compelling storyline, man. It writes itself, guys. So it's free for you guys to use if you want to use it, if you haven't thought about it already. But you're right. I mean, their pillar of AEW, Jack Perry. It's kind of written for him. Again, a lot of these things become somewhat predictable, which I hate the fact that they are sometimes. But this one right now, it's kind of written for him right now. I'm sorry, Dante. I'm sorry, Mark. I love him. He is the Ring of Honor champion. The other guy, I don't want to say his name because I'm going to butcher it. Um, yeah, it's just I see Jack winning this one. But again, as much as I say that, if he does become victorious, which I think he will be, that crowd's just going to boo him out of the building. And that's what you want. As much as you and I might have our opinions about Jack Perry, he will garner that reaction of hate, of despise, of the whole thing going on with him that happened between him and CM Punk and all that stuff. That's what you want, because at least at that point, as much as people dislike Jack Perry, I've got nothing against him personally. He gets that reaction where you just dislike him so much, and that's what they want.
Yeah, man. I mean, really, there's really I guess.
And hopefully Jack Perry will not break his tibia like Adam Copeland did.
Oh man, and then we saw an update where he had to get more stuff done to his leg.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate, but yeah. So Jack Perry seems to me, honestly, a no-brainer here because you want to push the guy in as well. He's part of the elite, so this is a guy that you obviously want to
Of course.
him to the moon. You chose him over Punk, so I
And you're bringing him in a light in terms of with the elite to put him in that type of scenario. If you didn't, if you did that and then he doesn't come out victorious, then the move is meaningless in my opinion. So it has to happen.
and of course you can't ever feel sorry for Jack Perry because he's with Anna Jay. So I mean,
Yeah, of course. No sympathy in my end either. But
did you see Anna Jay last week?
who didn't? It's
Boy.
it's amazing, And listen, I'll give her flowers. Dude.
Boy.
Anna Jay, as much as she is appealing in the eyes, she's getting better in the ring. So I'll give her that. And maybe she's got some lessons from Jack Perry.
What Tony Khan can be proud of is that women's division is, I mean,
Look out, everyone.
it just depends on how you define talent. I mean,
Mhm.
it's quite talented.
Yes.
And of course, Trendsetter, we've got the AW World Championship match between Will Ospreay, the international champion, against Swerve Strickland. Swerve, what you got, Trendsetter? I'm gonna throw it on you here. I'm gonna throw you this one here, Trendsetter. You analyze this one.
Not really much to analyze here. I think it's pretty, at least from my perspective, right? It makes pretty much sense that this isn't the last or the only altercation we're gonna have with these two, right? So that being said, hey, we all know whose house it is, right? And it's still Swerve's house. To
Oh,
me, Will Ospreay is coming off in a very heelish way because of his obnoxious. Sorry, let me say it correctly in English. His obnoxious mannerisms of his behavior and how he handles himself in the ring in terms of his promos, to really making it to the point where I'm like, I just want to see this guy. And maybe I'm the only one who thinks this, right? And I'm trying to be objective here. But to me, I'm leaning more towards Swerve because I kind of want him. I mean, when somebody takes your title away from you, that's more of a heelish thing that people do, not the babyface taking both titles, raising them with their hands, and then doing the second time after they've been warned not to, and then getting their face smacked in, which what happened to Will Ospreay with Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards Swerve. I don't think this is the last time it's going to happen. And again, it all leads towards All In my opinion. Wembley Stadium, AEW Championship on the line. So I feel that's where it's going to go. I have Swerve coming out victorious in this one. I think it's not the last time we're going to see Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. May be scenario where after this, I don't know. Wembley's a little bit far off right now. It's not close yet. It's only like
It's in September. It's in
September. So we have some time here. So I could see Will getting away from it in terms of losing this match, going and then defending his championship, losing it, and then going back and competing for the world title at Wembley Stadium. So I have Swerve coming on this one. It will not be the last time we see these two in the ring together. And in this scenario too, with Will Ospreay and the face-off he's had with MJF, and the supposed thing, Jeff, we talked about the wild card, right? It could be Will Ospreay stuff down the road that could happen as well. That'd be awesome to see from an AEW standpoint. The fans will love to see that. So a lot of things could happen from here to All In. But I see Swerve claiming the fact that this is still his house. So we're going to retain.
All right, so let's get it out of the way. All In is August 25th.
Okay.
At Wembley, and then
All Out is in September.
All Out is next week. Is week after for Labor Day weekend. So that they're the back-to-back pay-per-views that they get criticized for because it's a lot of work to do that with 1 week in between,
especially overseas.
If you come overseas and then you go to the site, I don't know if it's in Chicago again, most likely is for All Out. So yeah, you have those back-to-back pay-per-views. So I'm gonna say this. I think when the call was for Swerve to become the champion, they kind of did not pull the trigger so fast. It took a little bit, but then then they heard what the audience was all about Swerve and his house, and he was getting over. I think they didn't pull the trigger right away. And I think now to me is like, I believe down deep in their hearts, they want to pull the trigger on Will Ospreay right away. I want to say that Will Ospreay leaves as world champion and he holds both titles, but there's a lot of questions as to why not, because he's still part of that faction with Don Callis, and that's why you brought up the heelish tendencies, the obnoxiousness sometimes, and then you mentioned that he grabbed his title, on more than one occasion. He got he paid for it, but I think that not that there's an urgency, but I think they want to get everything set for All In, and I think that not to Swerve's detriment, I just don't think that when he won the championship that it was you didn't have, I don't know, there's just like something missing, and it was not his fault. I just don't think that he was booked correctly, right? So while I think that him walking away is possibly more than 50% likelihood, I think that there is a want to build for Wembley now, that they want to put the title on Ospreay earlier than they thought. Now, July, we still got more than 2 months, right?
Yes.
Right.
And just to confirm with you too, when you said about All Out, it's September 7th, and it is in Chicago.
Yeah. So there is that urgency to do it, and so maybe urgency is not the right way, but I think they want that. I think they want to have time to build Ospreay the way they didn't do Swerve. So I'm gonna say, like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm gonna say that Ospreay walks away as a champion. And if they do another one, they can do another one, but I think Ospreay still gets the victory here. I think there will be another title reign, and I think you can give a Swerve and Ricochet match possibly at All In. But we saw the preview. We know right now what's the hot match. We know that people want to see MJF and Will Ospreay. We saw that. I mean, we went 2 weeks ago. We saw that AEW. I don't know how we got through it. No lie. Listen, I love it. I love the alternative, but I cannot sit through. And the only thing watchable was seeing that tease of Ospreay and MJF. When are you going to do that? Not in Chicago. You can do that at Wembley. I think that's what they're trying to go for. I think that's what we're going to get. I think the sooner they do it, the sooner they do the build, the more it's going to lead and make it more memorable. So I think that's what they're going to do, and I think Ospreay walks away as a new champion.
So you have Ospreay coming out victorious, and then him being the champion going into All In.
Yes.
In double champion or just the AEW champion?
I think that I don't think they're concerned about that. I think that they just want to get the title on Ospreay. I think that he could lose. I don't think it'd be smart to lose it either, but as the lead-in, right? So I think he'll carry both titles into into Wembley and have him in.
It's an interesting predicament that AEW finds himself in, Jeff. You know why? Because you had this whole scenario where you're building up towards Samoa Joe being the one that defeated MJF when MJF took some time off due to a lot of injuries that he had, and you're expecting a very dominant reign. But then something happened weird where like it just seemed like the crowd was more in favor of Samoa Joe. As much as he tried to be a heel, it just came out the crowd actually cheering him. And then the whole sort of Strickland thing was kind of interesting because it seemed like now in such a short turnaround that now the crowd was behind Swerve Strickland. They want him to become champion, and Samoa Joe was now put to the side in a way now because now he's a babyface with Hook, which is kind of awkward pairing there. And now, if this were to happen too, it just makes me think. Then, what was the whole point of the
No,
momentum of Swerve Strickland? Where now we're going to go to the next person who's the exciting new toy, so we're going to put the title immediately on him.
that's what
I understand the logic behind of what you say, and I'm sure that's the logic of what AEW, higher ups or people who are writing this and talent relations are doing. But when you do that, it kind of like starts building the fact that okay, we gave what you wanted. What now? And it just seems from a track record here, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I would love the crew to also comment on this too when they see this and hear what we're talking about. Is this just a pattern? We're going to give away what you want, and then we'll figure it out when it's over.
that's what their booking and track record has been.
Mm.
Uh, when you have a bunch of superstars, like we were talking about when CM Punk came back to WWE, and you're like, how are you gonna get him in the fold? How are you gonna get Drew McIntyre in the fold? And what will Triple H say? Well, that's a great problem to have. On the other hand, the issue here is yes, well, Ospreay is the next toy, the next guy that they're pushing to be it. You have to be able to determine when to listen to the fans and when to hold your fort and be like, no, I believe in this guy. Because you're gonna fall into the same situation as like when Will Ospreay is missing opponents because Omega's not anywhere around yet. I mean, who else? Maybe you sign somebody, maybe a Ricochet will vie for that world championship down the road. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have this booked till maybe the end of the year, you're going to continue to go back to like who's the hot hand, who's hot, who's not, going back. And that is no way to book. There's no way to build a star. You're building a star off the momentum that the crowd is giving you, right? But the situation here is that if you don't book him right and you don't book him in the right situation, what's the crowd going to do? They're going to turn on to the next guy that you bring in, to the next toy. So whether it's, for example,
The next free agent that's going to be out there eventually for AEW to possibly sign.
and you just can't work that way because then you'll run through all these stars. And did you see the payroll of eight? I'm sure WWE has a big payroll as well, but they have a lot more people that they sign. They have all these different contracts. But the payroll for AEW that they spent on salary is $104 million combined. $104 million to a company that, let's be honest, we haven't talked about the ratings, but the ratings have been abysmal. They had the worst ratings last week, and this week they kind of went up to 680. But you're going to justify having somebody like MJF, which I don't even know if this is true, but he's making $15 million a year. I don't believe that, but it's like anywhere between, I would say $7 million. You can't do that. Tony Khan has to, for the business, he has to regulate those contracts because if not, I'm happy for the boys if they can get it, but you cannot build a company that way. You cannot, because if you're going to do that, you know what Vince did? Vince said, let these guys go. Let them get paid. Let Big Show get paid by AEW and look where they're at.
Yeah.
Let Henry get paid by AEW. Go take the contract. Go raise. Go. That's life changing money. Go do it because Vince knows it's not sustainable. Vince knew, and WWE knows, and these guys that are leaving. Hey, Ricochet, listen, it's good for him because he needs a fresh start. But back to what we were talking about, though, you cannot always go with what the fans say. There's times where they're right, like the Yes movement. There's times with the whole finish story where Cody had to be that guy at WrestleMania 40. And then there's times where, like, when you're catering to a small portion and they want this guy, you have to determine, should I pull the plug on this? Should I do it now or should I wait? And that is what they're going to end up doing. I would love to see them wait, but I don't think they know. I don't think they learned their lesson. And I think they want to get that. I think they're eager to get that title on Ospreay as they head into All In.
Yeah, and I'll just finish off by saying this, Jeff. Yeah, they are eager to put on the next new hot commodity, which is right now Will Ospreay. And in terms of all the acquisitions they've had, and again, I'm not trying to slight Mercedes Moné or Okada, but Will Ospreay has been the most successful one, where the crowd's just behind him. The crowd wants to see him. They're reacting to everything he's doing, right? But does that bode in terms of the reasoning why you want to put tell him right away? Wouldn't the wait and the anticipation of it happening, or on a stage like All In, to happen in front of that home crowd where Will Ospreay is the bill in terms of the headliner, and why that place is going to sell at Wembley Stadium, because everyone wants to see their own win the AEW World Title Championship? Yeah, would make sense, right? But in the scenario too, and this has gone back and forth in terms of episodes we've done before in the past, you make great points, and like I said, in terms of how the storytelling is being done too. But when you look at MJF and the contracts, we're not getting the details there. But like, if I'm really looking at it, a guy like Swerve Strickland, granted he's already known before he signed with AEW, but if you want to build something in terms of homegrown talent and make a star, that's the kind of person you want to make a star until you pass it over to someone like Will Ospreay. Because when you look at Will Ospreay, first thing you think of, if you're a die hardcore fan, which a lot of die hardcores watch AEW, that's their main demographic, right? He's a New Japan guy. This guy's an ex WWE guy. Edge or M. Copeland, TNT champion, or Christian Cage, or these are all ex people that were successful in the promotions. Mercedes Moné, who's your TBS champion. Why are we not building homegrown people like an MJF? Why did a very good job with the title, but again, injuries have come to us all, and that ended up happening. He's the only guy I know that's homegrown, where he came in here and they need to build him, and didn't do a very good job, in my opinion. He's become a star on his own. Is he worth 15 million? If that's the true case, I don't know. It's not my money to say. It's Tony Khan's
If
interpretation from there. But if you do this,
if someone's
and
giving you that money, you take it, right?
of course you would. I mean, if he's willing to offer it, why wouldn't you? And again, I'm not one to say, is this person worth this amount of money or this person worth that? I don't know. It's not for me to say. If they're willing to accept it and they're willing to be paid that, who wouldn't? I'd be a fool not to take it. You'd be a fool not to take it, right? But in the scenario, if you put it on Will Ospreay, I feel like just setting a bad example, not a horrible one, but just sending a bad message to the extent that we're going to give it to the next hot commodity, but these hot commodities come from other places. So if you're in AEW, if you're there trying to build your name for yourself, how can you really feel confident that you're going to do it until somebody else who's a free agent from another promotion is going to come on and take my spot? That's kind of discouraging in a certain way. So those are my 2 cents there.
And then the other thing too is, if they believe in their heart that Will Ospreay is the guy and go with now,
Then do it.
do it. But you also have to make sure that that title means something for the next guy that's taking it. Does Ospreay taking it now have more meaning if he wins it maybe in 2 other pay-per-views, or maybe he takes on Strickland at All Out, at All In, right? And then have him win the title at Wembley. So it just determines on the urgency that they want. Do they want Ospreay to go in chasing, or do they want to build? Because you'd have to then put the title MJF somehow, so that it's MJF and Ospreay challenges MJF for the title at All In, and then have that's why, to me, it's urgent now to get that title off of Swerve. And here's the other thing too, to close. And we all thought, I know I did, that the right choice was to have Cody win at 39. We all thought, hey, Sammy deserves to win in Montreal. What would have happened, though, if that happened? Look at everything that we've seen now. Look at the documentary that we're going to get this week with WrestleMania Behind the Curtain. Look at Sami Zayn now, his trajectory now, where he's involved. He's the IC champion heading into Money in the Bank. I don't know how much longer he's going to hold on to that IC title, but he's the Intercontinental champion right now. He won the IC title at home or he had a title defense against Chad Gable in Montreal. He had his moment to come back as a hero. Everything worked out in the end. Imagine if Triple H or Vince were like, "Oh, we'll have Cody win at 39. What do you do at 40?" Right?
Yeah.
You have to have a plan. If they have a plan, if they believe in their heart that Tony's like, "I've seen this through till at least All In," you do it. But I don't think it's wise. But I think they're going to have the title switch. Will Ospreay, a new champion at.
Last thing here, though, every decision has a pro and con behind it. We're talking about Cody, and now we're talking about Will Ospreay, right? If you're Tony Khan and creative there, whatever decision you make, whether it's Will Ospreay winning at at Forbidden Door or Strickland retains, you have to have a plan going forward. And if it's Will Ospreay, then your plan has to be set, and you have to be certain what you're doing here. Unfortunately, to the track record, it doesn't seem like it always happens. But again, in the scenario, whatever happens, I said I got Swerve retaining. Who do you got? Will Ospreay winning? So we'll see what happens at Forbidden Door and see what goes on the weeks after.
Good way to close it, though. We finally disagreed on that one, and that's a very important main event because this summer is going to be all built around All In and what happens with this matchup. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Trendsetter, that is your AEW Forbidden Door preview. Once again, you're watching High Spot Podcast, HSP on the Give Us a Shot Network. We will be there in Long Island at the UBS Arena for all this stuff for Forbidden Door
Forbidden Door, yeah.
media scrum. So
Oh,
make
we're all in on Forbidden Door. That's the thing.
you check us out. Afterwards, we'll have the media scrum for you on our YouTube or somewhere. You will see it on the Give Us a Shot Network as well. You'll see whatever goes on. Follow us on our social media at High Spot Podcast on the IG. I want to thank you guys for blowing the IG up, man. We are getting a lot of traffic there, so definitely continued flow over there, guys. I want to thank you, Trendsetter. You ready for Long Island? Let's go, buddy. Close it like you normally do, bro.
Oh, man, I wish I could drink coffee because I'm going to need it after this, guys. You've been watching the High Spot Podcast, our AEW Forbidden Door preview, guys. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to this. Really excited to see what goes on after Forbidden Door when we talk about it next show. And we do this for one reason, guys, and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.